move straight on. Craig mentioned saltmarsh earlier in his keynote speech, and we're delighted to welcome Annette Burden from the Centre of Ecology and Hydrology to talk about the development of a carbon code for saltmarsh. Over to you, Annette. Thank you.
Great, thank you. No presentation from me. I'll just be speaking, so no screen to share. So yeah, thanks for asking me to come along to the meeting today. And as you said, I'll be talking about a project that I'm just starting to lead through the same fund that Tammy was just talking about, to develop a UK saltmarsh carbon code, or to develop a pilot for a UK saltmarsh carbon code. So we're leading a consortium to develop it, and in brief, so it's a voluntary certification standard to attract private funding for saltmarsh restoration and creation projects in exchange for their climate benefits, and it will provide assurances to the buyer. So as we know, saltmarshes play an effective role in, or can play an effective role in, climate change mitigation by trapping and storing carbon dioxide. And sustainably managing these blue carbon habitats and restoring and recreating them wherever we can provides a nature-based solution to climate change mitigation. So the consortium we've got in the project is quite diverse. It includes the scientific, conservation delivery and finance, investment finance experts in the charity, finance and academic sectors. So there's us, so the UKCH, there's Bangor University, the Scottish Rural University, the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust, RSPB, University of St Andrews, Finance Earth, IUCN, National Committee for the UK, and Jacobs. It's quite a large group of people. And the funding is through the NEIRF funding round that you've just heard about. So that was designed by DEFRA and the Environment Agency, and it aims to stimulate private investment to improve and safeguard our natural environment. So it'll be developing nature projects that provide environmental benefits and can attract private investment. So just briefly about what a carbon code is. So it's a rigorous and scientifically based voluntary certification standard to enable saltmarsh, well, this one, to enable saltmarsh carbon to be marketed and traded as a carbon offset, whilst providing, as I said earlier, assurances to the buyer that the climate benefits being sold are real, quantifiable, additional and permanent. And those four aspects are really important when developing a code. And the revenue generated creates finance opportunities to create more habitat. And it's hoped that the code will, or would, promote new habitat creation which otherwise wouldn't take place. So there's a habitat creation through mitigation for habitat loss at the moment, but hopefully having a code like this will unlock more finances to be able to stack it along others to get more restoration projects off the ground, as it does in the case for the peatland code and the woodland code, which are the other two domestic codes in the UK we have for carbon trading. So the aims of the project, it is developing a pilot carbon code. So we're starting off with evaluating the current evidence on how effective restoration methods are on carbon sequestration, and how this changes over time, which is quite important for then predicting how many carbon credits you'll have in a project over time. And it will be really good for us to get a proper handle on where we are with the current evidence, and that will help underpin other projects, I feel, as well, and will be an output of the project. It will be that kind of literature review will be published. We're going to be analysing relevant international codes and standards and protocols, like if anybody knows about them, like the Vera codes, to see if there's anything we can learn from them. We're not envisaging that we will just adopt a code that's already out there, because having a domestic code means that we would be completely in control of the methodology and updating it as new evidence comes along. And then we'll be through that, those two things, so the evaluating the evidence and looking at international codes, we'll identify proxy methods and metrics for monitoring and reporting and validating the carbon gain, and hopefully disaggregating that to different salt marsh typologies. So you'll be able to end up with different kind of carbon emission factors for different areas of the UK or different types of salt marsh on different types of sediment, or with different sea level rise or sedimentation rates, for example. We'll then be applying the pilot code to pilot sites to test and refine the code itself and all the kind of, because we'll be developing the investment case around it as well. So all the documentation around that so it kind of provides a proof of concept of the code. So the investment case will be developed as well, and the intention is that during the lifetime of this project, we'll be taking that to investors to raise interest in funding for restoration works. We can't kind of get people to fund them yet because the code won't be up and running, but just to raise more interest. We've had a phenomenal amount of interest in the project already, and quite a lot of letters of support when we put the application form in. We're going to have wider stakeholder engagement and a workshop for the code at some point in the project. Our approach to all of that is to be confirmed. The project only really officially started a few weeks ago, so it's very early days, and we're very keen to promote a wider conversation within around developing a wider kind of blue carbon code rather than just salt marshes. And there is actually a fund, there is a project within the same fund that are developing a seagrass code. So I'm hoping that the two projects can work together. So related to the Humber specifically, one of our pilot sites is Skeffling in North Humber. And the reason we've got pilot sites in the project is just we felt having real life examples of where managerial alignment is going to happen will be a better test for the methodology, and there will be more data on those sites, hopefully, that we can test against, and it will just give us more of a feel for how it works and give us kind of real figures for potential carbon units that could go to market. So that's everything we're planning to do. As I said, the project has literally only just started. We currently have a year of funding to develop the pilot, but the consortium are all committed to kind of seeing this through. We'd really like a pilot code to be up and running. So we're looking at potential funding streams to develop it into kind of year 2 and onwards. Just as an example, the peatland code took about 4 years to develop. The pilot was in 2011, and then it came online in 2015. So it takes a while, but hopefully we'll have a new UK domestic salt marsh carbon code up and running in a few years' time. That's it from me. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Annette, and a really interesting project linking with others similar to it, and nice to see some of it happening on the Humber. So really good. Thank you very much for joining us.